is going on, everybody? Jonathan Pembe here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NFL DFS Playbook Preview Show. NFL Week 4 is upon us here, Howard. We have 11 games on the DraftKings main slate because International Week in the NFL has begun. Your favorite time of the year, as he now lives even further away. You got what, a 4 a.m. kickoff for you there?
No, it's only five. It's a 5:30 a.m. kickoff, which is fine because for me, I'm on air at 6 a.m. Alaskan time anyway on Sundays for the game day morning show with me and Coop, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time. So listen, it's I'm up anyway because I'm dealing with like all the stuff for like the example lineups and late breaking news and things like that. So, you know what? It's actually going to be fun to have a little game in the background there as I'm completing my morning work.
Yeah. Not only do we have the Sunday morning game, they also, for whatever reason, gave us 2 Monday Night Football games again. So removing 2 teams there from the late schedule. We have the Packers and Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. So just 11 games on the DraftKings main slate. Still plenty of great plays, though. A lot of great matchups, some high-scoring games. The late slate loaded with games at 48 and 49.5 totals that we're going to be probably looking to target here. We have one game that is a 15.5-point spread, Buffalo Bills at home against the New Orleans Saints, that we're also going to have to kind of navigate our way around there. Josh Allen is your top-priced quarterback for this week, Howard. So I guess the question pertains here is, are you buying into Buffalo offense, or are you worried that we get like 3.5 quarters, 3 quarters out of like a Josh Allen, a James Cook, and guys like that?
No, I kind of feel like we're gonna get the full run of it. And if those guys come out at any point in this game, it's because the game is well in hand, right? If the game seems really well in hand, fourth quarter, maybe they take everybody out and that helps New Orleans at least cover this 15.5-point spread that they are underdogs on. So I think that, if you're going to pay up at QB and you pay up for Josh Allen, I think you're totally fine, because by the time he comes out of the game, it's only because this game is well in hand. So I'm okay with using him. I personally, though, I'd rather go with a guy like Lamar Jackson, simply because I think that there might be a little bit more of a back and forth between these two teams, because I think both those teams are going to be a little bit on the desperate side, because neither one of them wants to start out at 1-3 this season. So I feel like Jackson is probably the better play over Josh Allen, even though it's technically a tougher matchup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the matchups haven't really mattered too much for Lamar. 27, 26, and 29 fantasy points in the 3 weeks. He's obviously looked great throwing the football. We always typically talk about Lamar Jackson and what his rushing upside is, but 9 passing touchdowns through the first 3 weeks, including 7 over the last 2 weeks here. We talked about it. It's because their defense has been bad, right? They scored 40 points and lost. They scored 30 points and lost in 2 of the first 3 games of the season here. So to that effect, almost, like, I go down to Patrick Mahomes, who again hasn't had a great start. He has benefited from 2 rushing touchdowns that kind of helped the fantasy total for him, but throwing the football 59%, 55%, 61%, those aren't Patrick Mahomes type numbers that we're used to seeing here. Maybe that gets a bump, though, this week against this Ravens defense that's just bleeding yards and points to everybody. They're at home. He's only $6,000. He's getting Xavier Worthy back. I think there's a value play to be had here with Patrick Mahomes.
I definitely think there's a value play to be had. I was actually just, I was playing in some contests already, looking at, stacking up a little Patty Mahomes with a little Travis Kelce. I think I have Kelce I've got in the DFS watch list over at Fantasy Alarm. So I'm good on that front. I'm good. I like it.
Any interest in Herbert?
I think there is some interest in Herbert, but I'll tell you what, the Giants are giving up the second most rushing yards. They've given up like 5 rushing touchdowns right now. I feel like this is more of like an Omari and Hampton coming out party than it is really to like rely heavily. I think what you're going to get out of like Justin Herbert here is you probably get like, I don't know, 220 yards, 230 yards with like a touchdown, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that the Giants pass rush isn't going to chase him out to do some more running. I just think that, I would probably, I don't know, I would probably back off a little bit on Herbert.
Sure. And I kind of agree with you as well. I think this could be a run focused matchup there for the Chargers, and we'll get to that. So you have Mahomes.
I do like Goff. You skipped right over Jared Goff.
You like Goff at 64. Would you rather
home
play
start against a really tough run defense? I think he's going to have to throw.
I agree. For me, I guess it's probably going to be lesser rostered than Mahomes, so probably good contrarian play here. Because for $400 cheaper, you get the Mahomes matchup in the expected to be higher scoring game. But yeah, Goff obviously showed you the ceiling through 5 touchdowns against Chicago, and we've talked about it ad nauseum here. The Browns' run defense holding Chase Brown, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs to 2 yards or less per carry. The Lions like to run the football, but they might not be able to here in this matchup. So that's cool. I'm good with that play. Caleb Williams is 58. Drake May, real life football, okay. Fantasy football, though, DFS football, pretty good. And then Geno Smith. I think a lot of people are going to be playing Geno Smith this week, home versus the Bears. Trey Tucker boom game aside, like they still have Bowers, they have Tucker, they have Thornton, they have Myers, and the Bears defense has been really bad this year.
Bears defense has been terrible. Jaylon Jones is hurt. Jalen Johnson is already on IR. He's out. Their slot corner has been banged up the entire time. I'm blanking on his name. Yeah, I mean, if you guys go back and you watch the betting show, the betting playbook show for Fantasy Alarm, John and I kind of have a little bit of discussion, just on this front, Caleb Williams versus, what the narrative for the Raiders is here. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, you have to, with all the complaining that people have done about the Raiders offensive line, John, I mean, does it surprise you to see them as a 1-point favorite in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit. I think, again, it just really speaks to Chicago's bad defense. We do also often talk, right, like the home team, Vegas, generally gives, 3-point favorites sort of in the sense there. So maybe if this is a neutral site game, you actually see the Bears as a 2-point favorite in this one and not the Raiders. But, I think you're just going to see a lot of passing. People are down on Gentry because of that offensive line. So getting Geno throwing the football as much as he does. And then Caleb Williams, like I said, on the other side of that matchup, I think the way he's throwing to Rome Odunze, we got Luther Burden made big plays last week. DJ Moore found the end zone, spreading the ball around. DeAndre Swift is banged up. Might need to just lean on the passing game more here for Caleb Williams.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. Yeah. I think there is definitely going to be a lean. I just, again, you also have to take last week's passing totals with a bit of a grain of salt. Deron Bland was out. Trevon Diggs was questionable, leading, up to a game time decision.
Yep.
So, I don't hate it, John. I don't hate it. I'm not enamored with it, but I don't hate it.
All right. Value plays for this week. Mariota is back starting at quarterback. He's 5K, though. He's not 4K. He did pay off with the price tag for us last week. Had a rushing touchdown, had a passing touchdown, ran for 40 yards. No AJ Terrell again for Atlanta, but no Terry McLaurin for the Commanders. Yeah. JCM's a little banged up. Not that we're super high on the running back situation in Washington. Do you think Mariota gets a little revenge narrative play here against the Falcons?
I mean, I think so. I think there could be. I'm not enamored with it here. Again, when you don't have Terry McLaurin, how sold are we on Debo? How sold are we? I mean, that backfield is atrocious.
Yeah,
and not being able to rely on the backfield is also kind of a tough situation there. It's kind of been a game that I've been kind of avoiding a little bit. I'll tell you what, it sounds disgusting here, but I might build a GPP lineup with Spencer Rattler. I was just kind of looking, it was, his prop yards for passing. Some places have it at 202, but then there are other places that have it juiced up to 210, 211. I think if you wanted to build a lineup just strictly based off of garbage time, I think that might be, something interesting. I mean, you could pair him up with Chris Olave. You could pair him up with Juwan Johnson. I mean, I'm not saying you have to go overboard here and stack Saints, but we do know that Buffalo's got a mid-level defense. And if they do take their foot off the gas, why wouldn't you just get like a huge, garbage time work there?
Sure. I mean, I think more people, if they were going to punt, they'd just go Jackson Dart making his debut. Dart has some rushing upside, which is obviously appealing in DFS avenues here. It's a tough matchup, but he is at least home. He does have the benefit of having Malik Neighbors, Scatabo. You're probably going to get a heavy workload here running the football. Wan'Dale Robinson's a pretty reliable target too, running some short routes for them. But that's kind of like the extent really of their skill position players. But at $4,500, you don't need Dart to do much. Especially if he is going to run the football a little bit here. So would you play Jackson Dart?
Why is he not 4,000? Why are we paying the extra freight here? That I don't understand.
Well, he hasn't been 4,000 all season. That's the thing. 43 and 46. I think it's because either they were waiting in anticipation for him to be benched, or the fact that he actually is getting snaps, and because he's gotten snaps, that the algorithm is therefore giving him salary.
Yeah. I don't love it, Johnny. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, you can definitely get away with using Dart for that. Pair him up with Malik Neighbors, and just kind of hope for the best there. Hope that there is some huck it, chuck it football.
Sure. Running back position, your top guys there, the usual suspects, McCaffrey, Robinson, Gibbs, Barkley, Taylor was the guy to play last week. But those top guys all have some pretty tough matchups in terms of run DVOA. Gibbs and Barkley are facing the number 1 and number 2 defenses run DVOA. Do you find yourself looking to spend up at running back this week?
I don't really. I think, you're fine with McCaffrey. If you want to spend up for McCaffrey, then you spend up for McCaffrey. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me. But I mean, again, I don't feel a pressing need to invest $8,200 in Bijan right now. I'm definitely not going to pay up for Gibbs. Right.
Yep.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor is probably as automatic as you can get. And he's going up against, that's a tough front seven for the Rams. It's a really tough front seven. And, Tennessee, Denver, Miami. These have been great tune-up games, but none of those teams really dazzle you against the run.
No, Tennessee is second worst in DVOA, only to the Giants. So Taylor had no problem there. You have Derrick Henry. Kansas City has a good run defense. Henry obviously having the fumbles last week as well. So, not that we're questioning Derrick Henry's ability to be an effective runner by any sense of the imagination, but hasn't popped since week 1. James Cook was my darling last week. I was all in on him. He exploded against Miami. The Saints, though, they're 9th in DVOA against the run. Kenneth Walker had 2 rushing touchdowns last week, but he didn't do anything much in terms of yards per carry. Do you think James Cook can get it going against the Saints defense here?
I think so. Yeah. It's not, it's not my ideal play again. I kind of feel like we do see a little bit more Ty Johnson and Ray Davis in this.
Sure. So again, I think spending up at running back doesn't feel like the way we're going to go. You mentioned Amari and Hampton, 59. That play feels like it could be pretty chalky this week. Coming off no Najee Harris, 19 carries, got the touchdown, had 6 catches as well. Again, I don't think they're going to need to utilize them that much in the passing game in this one because I don't think it's going to be overly competitive, but the ability to add in the PPR upside as well for Marion Hampton to me, I think is super appealing. Then you mentioned you're buying in on Ashton Jinty this week. He's $6,200.
The Bears are giving up like the 8th or 9th most rushing yards per game right now. They've given up a small handful of rushing touchdowns. It's just not an intimidating defense. It's not a defense that kind of scares me. And I think that what I love about Jinty is that everybody's off him right now. Everybody's off. I won't use him in a cash game, but I will happily lock him into a GPP tournament, and I'll just use him as a one-off, right? I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to stack, Geno Smith and, Ashton Jinty and Brock Bowers. No, I don't really feel the need to do that. I feel like Genty's going to be somebody who I'm going to want to be invested in this week.
Yep.
This week.
I'm surprised they don't throw to him as much. I thought like he'd be a guy that'd be super active in the passing game, and no targets last week. I feel like that needs to be corrected a little bit there. We talked about Tennessee. I know Nick Chubb is feels like a boat that's sinking here. And Houston's offense hasn't looked good. I don't know if you saw the report today. Deanna Rossini gave an interview and basically said like there's some behind the scenes going on with sort of like the offensive play calling and CJ Stroud, and that she thinks things might be coming out soon on the matter. So I don't know if there's an internal battle between how they want to run the offense here. Everybody's been all over Woody Marks all week and waiver wire and the hype and all this stuff. As I mentioned, second worst DVOA against the run, Tennessee Titans. Do you think Nick Chubb is a sneaky play this week when everybody's off him?
I will happily do that. And I'll just say this, man, because I'll pat myself on the back for this. I wrote about this in the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide. If you own the Draft Guide, go back and read the coaching systems article about Houston, because Nick Caley said that he doesn't have a specific offensive scheme that he relies on. He's going to scheme week to week depending on what the opponent's strengths and weaknesses are. That shit doesn't work, dude. It doesn't work in the NFL. It does not work at the NFL level at all, right? I mean, it was Mike Tyson who once said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Stroud's been punched in the mouth for 3 straight weeks, and yet Nick Caley is still like, oh, no. You need to have a base offensive scheme. Like, you need to have it. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, we're going to be pass heavy this time. Oh, we're going to be run heavy this time. No. Have your base scheme, script out your first 10 plays, 10, 15 plays, and then make the necessary adjustments from there. But if you don't have your base offense, your team has no identity. And if you're going to give your quarterback, CJ Stroud, all of this autonomy at the line, you need to have him like supported in some way or another, right? You need to have him supported in his decisions. If he's reading the defense this way, okay, great. They can fall back and do this. If he doesn't know what he's looking at defensively, he should be able to still say, we're still going to run the football because this is what we do. This is our identity. Mm-hmm. And the Texans don't have that right now. It would not surprise me in the least if Nick Caley is the first coordinator fired this season.
So that was the report from Diana Rossini today. So something to watch for, but it is a good spot for Nick Chubb. They are home. Maybe they change a little bit of how they're going to call their offense here moving forward. And whether it's Marks or Chubb, they could be in for a pretty big week. Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels both gave the vote of confidence to Ramondre Stevenson this week after his fumbleitis last week.
That's a kiss of death, dude. That's a kiss of death, man. Anytime the coach is like, oh, no, I stand behind this guy.
I don't disagree with you. You can't really play anybody in New England, but this has always been a matchup we've loved against Carolina in the run here. So it also wouldn't shock me if Ramondre Stevenson came out there early and they gave him touches to prove he doesn't fumble, but tough to go. Isaiah Pacheco, I've been calling Kareem Hunt the guy to play for a few weeks now. I think one's trending up, one's trending down. But again, a good matchup against Baltimore here. Any of these value plays stand out to you over the others?
No, the one question, and I had asked Coop this yesterday, and I'll ask you also, considering I know you're a Patriots fan, right? I mean, where are you at with Trevion Henderson against Carolina? Or where are you at with Antonio Gibson? Is he somebody more than just a kick returner? Could they start utilizing him in the backfield a little bit more, given the matchup?
Well, they tried using Gibson after the fumbles, and he fumbled on his first touch last week. So it feels unlikely to go back to the well there. And Trevion, listen, everybody, when they drafted Trevion, they talked about him being a 3-down back. But one of the biggest things with Trevion Henderson was that everybody loved his pass pro. Like his college tape just showed him blowing up a bunch of linebackers, protecting the quarterback during the preseason. He was great at pass protection. And he's been terrible at pass protection in the regular season. He's gotten a couple of holding calls against him, like some pressures, and that's taken him off the field. He was supposed to be on the field in passing downs because of his ability to kind of protect and chip and get out on routes, and that hasn't been the case yet. He did run the ball well when they gave him the opportunity, but he was running literally with 2 hands on the football. Like he was doing everything he could to make sure he didn't fumble last week after the other two had fumbled. So I don't know if that impacts his ability to move or be explosive when you have to run like you're holding a baby. So like, I don't know. I want to see it more with Travion Henderson. And maybe this is a game plan where he can break out, but not that I'm trusting right away. I said the other one's Woody Marks. I think he's going to be popular. People, again, have been steaming him up all week, thinking that the snap count's up to like 30 or something like that % last week. I don't know. Well, it's not like he blew doors. I mean, what do you think of Woody Marks here?
I mean, again, I don't mind Woody Marks. I think he's undersized, right? I just don't see him being like a good between the tackles kind of guy. Maybe he can be a little bit elusive, but I don't know, man.
200. 5'10", 200.
What's that?
5'10", 200.
Oh, is he 5'10"? I thought he was 5'8".
That's what they list him as. Who knows?
All right. I mean, again, I think, yeah, I think it's fine. If people are steaming him up enough that make him cash game viable, I'll be into that. But
sure.
Overall, again, I'm not really eyeballing it too much.
Right. Official Brock Purdy will start this week for the 49ers as well, not on the injury report. Yeah. Mac Jones 2-0. No starter for them. All right, wide receivers. Puka Nacua $7,900. We don't have an 8K receiver on the slate, so that's the first for a little bit here. Nacua, Collins, Amon-Ra, Neighbors, 7K and up. We keep biting on the Nico Collins play. Last week finally came through, 8 of 11 for 104 and a score. We going back to the well here?
I don't mind going back to the well for Nico Collins. Listen, I think Puka Nacua you can definitely do. He's a fantastic option in PPR, full point PPR format. I don't think 7,900 is unreasonable for him at all. I love Nico Collins. His prop last week, his prop was 68.5 receiving yards. This week it's 71.5 receiving yards. I don't think that's a mammoth increase. So I'm ready to trust him again. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is somebody who you definitely want to take a look at, though, again, because you're not going to utilize they're going to start off running the football heavily, and you're going to see Detroit just being like, yeah, you guys can't own our thing. But after like 2 series and Gibbs and Montgomery are combined for like 13 yards, at some point you're going to have to just say, screw it and let's just throw the football here. And that's when Amon-Ra steps in.
Agreed. Yevig Buka potentially is like the top wide receiver now. No Evans, and Godwin's making his debut, but they got to assume there's some level of snap count on him. He gets the Eagles. Flowers at 67. Ladd still the top price Chargers wide receiver. I don't really understand that one because he's been basically their third best wide receiver this year. Brown, Adunze here in the 6K tier. What are we looking at?
I like that 6K tier there, right? Like the Brown, Odunze, Devontae Adams. I think Brian Thomas becomes an intriguing contrarian play because everybody's down on him, even though I'm not all that bullish on the Jags. I think Brown, Odunze, and Adams are probably going to be where a lot of people are living. Brown showed last week that he can do it. Tampa's secondary is not strong. They don't grade out well in coverage. Rome Odunze, he is that number 1 target now for Caleb Williams. I said that 2 weeks ago, and somebody told me I was crazy and not to rule out DJ Moore. I think I wasn't so crazy after all.
Yeah, Moore did eventually come through in that game, but it's been interesting seeing how it's how they've kind of managed that situation with him. I think if Swift ends up not playing, you might see a lot more DJ Moore running the football in this game, by the way, because they gave him a handful of carries last week. Other plays, we work our way down. JMO's always live for a long ball. Debo's number 1, but it's going to be Mariota this week throwing on the football. Worthy's back. How do you handle the Worthy London tier here? Any interest?
Well, I'm kind of I'm out on Tet McMillan because Christian Gonzalez is back.
Yeah.
Worthy, I would consider using that as like a GPP contrarian play. I think that he's going to be on a snap count, and I do believe that he's going to be wearing a harness on his shoulder as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've if you've seen the harness, but I just don't know if it's going to, how it's going to affect him overall. And Drake London's not really a guy who, again, I need to see this from Atlanta before I start to invest. I mean, I really
The
I know a lot
target
of
share has
people are
been
taking
nice.
the Falcons, laying a point or something like that, but I need to see Michael Penix do something that's, a positive for him.
Sure. I like the 15 and 8 targets in 2 and the 3 weeks there, but
Sure.
you got to see probably a little bit more come from that. Pearsall is now on the injury list. He's questionable to play this week, but he's at Jacksonville. Would obviously be a good spot for him. Coleman's always kind of a deep threat. Again, the Saints are going to give up points. They are going to lose this game. Somebody in Buffalo is going to score. Someone's going to catch footballs from Josh Allen.
Keon Coleman is.
Yeah, it could be Keon Coleman again. Knocking DJ Moore, but he had the touchdown, only 20 yards, but it could be there for him. QJ is 55, Jacoby Myers 54. Keenan Allen's the cheapest at 53, and he's looking like the old Keenan Allen here. Touchdowns in all 3 games. What are your thoughts as we get down those 5K range?
I think maybe Justin Herbert likes Keenan Allen more than he likes Ladd McConkey. I mean, again, I don't mind the play. I think the play is fine. Is it lighting? Is it exciting me? No, because again, I'll use Amari and Hampton, all over the place as a running back, and I just, I'm not, because I don't know where the football's going. That kind of limits it for me. I mean, it's really what we were looking at with Chicago, right? It was like everybody was all in on DJ Moore for week 1, but it was Rome Odunze. And everybody was in on Colston Loveland, but it was Cole Kmet. And so now you look at the Chargers here, and it's like you've got Quentin Johnston stretching the field, and he's been spectacular. You can't argue against him. McConkey's been good, just not great. He's just not seeing the targets that everybody wants. And Keenan Allen's been good. But do we have like a definitive idea as to like where this football is technically going? I don't think so. I don't think there's enough to really kind of make that assumption. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
I mean, there's certainly plenty of targets to go around, right? So for me, I just don't know if the game flow is going to be necessarily be there for the targets. So that's the other play for that one.
Oh, so you agree with me?
Yeah, I don't really have a strong lean. I agree with you. Hollywood Brown's 5,200.
Sure.
Don't mind that play, right?
Revenge game narrative there.
Yeah. Pittman's 51 feels too cheap if that, the way he's been playing for them.
That feels deceptively cheap. For what Michael Pittman has done so far this season, that feels disrespectful.
Right? I mean, he hasn't like blown doors with touchdowns in 2 of 3, 19 and 20 fantasy points in 2 of 3. Let's see.
It's a little disrespectful in my opinion.
Your boy Rashad Bateman, you did a whole video on matchups this week.
I did do a whole video of matchups this week. Listen, I think that it's a great spot for him to be in, primarily because there's no second guy in that secondary for Kansas City. You've got Trent McDuffie, who's going to probably pay a ton of attention over to Zay Flowers in this one. That I think it just kind of opens things up nicely for Rashad Bateman. So happy to use him.
Again, Luther Burden had the big week last week, but only a couple of targets went his way.
He had 3 targets, right?
Yeah,
3.
Yeah, only a couple. Yeah. Christian Kirk had a bunch of targets, $4,400.
See, I like that pay down there. I think there's limited upside. I think unless CJ Stroud and this offense gets out of its own way. Yeah. I like Kirk as like I'll use him at 4,400 as a salary saver, but my expectations really aren't that much. He's gonna get 3-4 catches,
possibly. I mean, he did have the 8 targets, so I mean, if they do throw to him enough, there could be more going his way. He is the clear number 2 wide receiver. I mean, Higgins and Noel immediately just got dumped there. So
true.
What
about Cedric?
I'll say how many people chase the Trey Tucker points first, though?
Oh, everybody's going to chase the Trey Tucker points. He's probably going to be at this price tag right now. He's probably going to be like a free square in cash
games. Yeah. Especially that match. You mentioned Cedric Tillman though, right above him, same price, 4,200.
Right. I think that if we're going to see some, throwing the football all over the place by Joe Flacco, if they're going to want to keep pace here with Detroit, Tillman's the guy. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever seen Terrion Arnold try to cover somebody who's faster than him? It's horrible.
Does Downs get any additional love from you without Alec Pierce, or do you more on the AD Mitchell side of things?
I'm sure it's probably on the Mitchell side of things. I think Downs is losing work not because of Alec Pierce. I think he's losing work because of Tyler Warren.
Okay. Shepard's 4K, Tyquan Thornton 4K.
I think a lot of people are going to use Tyquan Thornton this week as well. I think that's going to be a busy play.
I'm still buying in. Eli Ayamenor's 39.
I love that he's still under 4K. I'll keep using him. If this dude's going to get 6-7 targets a game,
yeah,
absolutely.
Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown for him. Clear number 2 for them.
Stingley, I think, is out also, right?
Who?
Derek Stingley?
Yeah. Carolina's kind of interesting. No Xavier Legette again. They don't have Jalen Coker back yet. They don't have Jatavion Sanders as well. Pat McMillan, you said, is going to be covered by Christian Gonzalez in this one. Does like Hunter Renfrow peak at all for you here? I mean, someone in Carolina probably catches a football.
Renfro's probably a good dartboard guy to take a look at. Could also look at what's that? Who's that dude that Coop loves so much? Bryson Tremaine.
Yeah, Tremaine. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, man, it's pretty funny that, Brad Idzik was because I dove into it a little deeper.
Yeah.
Brad Idzik, who is the offensive coordinator for the Panthers, he was a graduate assistant who did help recruit Tremaine into to Stanford, and then basically like hit him up and said that he's offering, he's like, same deal. You come here, you play hard. I've got a spot for you.
$3,000 min price play, 2 catches, 15 yards last week, 3 for 48 the week before that. So could very well be a Bryson Tremaine dark throw there. Anything else? I mean, Kendrick Bourne was down here. I know you've liked him with Pearsall and Jennings.
He's dead to me.
All right. I mean, if Pearsall and Jennings don't play, Bourne might be like the top guy there. So,
well, I'll tell you what, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
All right. And then 80 Mitchell's $3,100. So. Got him there, likely grabbing some value. All right, tight end. Where do you want to go?
I mean, Bowers is in a great spot. I would pay up at tight end this week. You don't normally have to, but I love Bowers against the Bears. I love Kelsey against the Ravens. Kelsey always has big games against the Ravens as well. We've seen that traditionally. Bowers just, again, I mean, Bowers, who was coming off of that knee injury, still played like 99% of the snaps last week. So he might not have seen like all the targets, but I still think that he's very much in play here. That's one of the reasons why I'm not too into Trey Tucker, because I just think that Bowers is a guy who is going to handle all of that underneath work.
Kincaid's look good. $4,500 for him there. Hunter Henry broke the slate last week. 8 of 90 for 2 touchdowns. Josh McDaniels, as we know, his also offensive systems make tight ends productive. And they had Hunter Henry just find soft areas in that defense, and Drake May first read throws. Carolina not great against tight ends this year. Would you play Hunter Henry at 4K?
Giving up like the 7th or 8th most fantasy points per game to the position, and I think Carolina actually ranks dead last in DVOA against the tight end. So of course I'm going to play Hunter Henry.
Good cash game play probably.
Hell yeah. Juwan Johnson's a decent play.
Everybody said this man was dead. 6 for 91 and 2 scores last week.
Yeah, I'm not going to chase last week's points with him this week. Traditionally does not do well against the Chiefs.
Okay. Anything else down here?
I like Juwan Johnson. I think that he's, an option for sure, especially with garbage time on the slate.
Playing?
What's that?
Is Matt Milano playing? He's the tight end killer there.
He's still questionable. We'll take a look and see on that front.
Okay.
I think Njoku is a worthwhile GPP tournament play. I'd give him a look.
Okay.
I'd actually give Kyle Pitts a little bit of a look-see here as well. Washington not doing well against the tight end. Washington also struggling against slot receivers. So considering Pitts plays both ends there, I think that's definitely worth something for 3,600.
Yeah. I like the upside there. I also like Chigakonkwo as well.
Sure.
Again, targets have been there for him. He's a guy that's actually capable of making some big plays. A fast tight end is Chigakonkwo there. Anything else at tight end? I guess if Loveland sits, do you give Cole Kmet a look?
I guess you kind of have to.
And
It's got
not
the
that either
mobility of a refrigerator, but sure.
not that either have been overly productive. Tanya's is 31. Probably it, right? Anything else?
What about Conklin, huh? No Will Disley.
Well, I was gonna say there's been a lot of Twitter hype about Aronde Gadsden.
Always
5 for 48 on 7 targets last week. Dartboard, maybe?
It's possible. It's very, very possible.
Conklin didn't catch anything.
He didn't get anything last week.
So Gadsden's the Twitter darling this week. All right, defense. Chargers get Jackson Dart at $3,300. Feel like probably going to be a popular spend there. Lions, again, going after Flacco. They sacked 7 times Lamar Jackson last week. Feels like they could get after Flacco. Less mobile Joe Flacco than Lamar Jackson. So, feel like they probably have an easy time getting after him there.
Patriots against Carolina is a matchup I like.
Yeah, Patriots let me down last week, but that happens when you
turn let everybody down last week.
To do. I do have the Patriots in my survivor pool pick this week. I don't know. I still have time to change it, but that's what I got locked in at the moment.
Who's all the way at the bottom? Scroll all the way down. Let's see who the cheapy defense is that we want to use this week.
The Falcons are home, and they do get Mariota with no McLaurin and no running game. So I know you were anti matchup against Washington last week because you didn't think Mariota was going to throw enough to turn the football over, which is true. But they might not score a lot of points. $2,700. So there's that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll dive in. I try to find. I think I think the contrarian play would be to go with the Browns against the Lions here, but
yeah,
I'm not going to play that game at all. I think the Raiders could be an intriguing option here if you believe that they're going to, take care of business here on Chicago.
The Colts at 26. I get it. I understand the Rams offense and what they're capable of doing here, but the Colts have been pretty decent.
So, yeah. And I saw DeForest Buckner is good to go for this week too.
Yeah, so some value plays. Let's get a core build.
Sure. Where do we want to start?
All right. Well, running back we liked QJ or Hampton rather, or Marion Hampton.
Yes, we did.
And we didn't really spend up at running back. Was it you were in on Ginty this week, right?
I am in on Ginty, yes.
All right. $5,400, Hampton Ginty.
Where do you want to go wide receiver?
Again, I wasn't really looking to spend up all that much. I do think Adunze maybe on the other side of that Ginty play.
Okay.
I
can dig that. I can definitely dig that. I like Coleman, but that's,
I feel like we want something in this Baltimore game.
Hollywood.
Yeah, probably like Hollywood.
Let's put Mahomes in there.
I was gonna say, do you do Mahomes or do you just do a naked Lamar or something like that?
I think a lot of people do naked Lamar. Let's put Mahomes in there and get some, have a little pairing there. Or we don't do Hollywood Brown and we do Kelsey and we just pay up for Kelsey.
Do Kelsey and then do Flowers.
I don't like Flowers. I'd rather do Bateman. Saves you money too.
I know. If we did the Chargers,
I'm not buying Flowers.
$5,800, 2 wide receivers and a flex. Was what we have remaining.
That's a great spot to be, especially considering how many sub 4,000 pay downs we already identified.
Yeah. Especially a wide receiver, right?
Just throw Ayamanor in there for crying out loud, huh?
There'll be 68 for a wide receiver and a flex to get you guys going there. That's not bad. Ayamanor is not a bad option. Would you rather? I kind of want to. Let's do. Yeah, I guess Elick is fine. He's fine. I kind of want to go Thornton, but I can't pull myself to click the button. So
Which Thornton? Taekwon?
yeah, Taekwon.
You can do that. You would just go full Chief stack.
I think we go full Chiefs, and then we figure out with $6,800 whether we want to play like a 7,200 Derrick Henry at flex, or we go Flowers at 67, or like you said, you go a cheap Bateman, and now at flex you can buy whatever you want, CMC or something like that. So
I'll bet you could do that. Why don't you put Bateman in there and throw CMC in the flex and just see if it fits? We won't save it.
We won't
Not by any means.
We don't want
to go against the grain here. We don't want to,
$200 left over if you wanted to do Bateman and CMC. So
how much would you have over?
$200 left over.
Oh,
so
look at that.
Fit it in with no problems. All right, guys, example lineup there. Full lineup will be in the Discord per usual. Again, Bender and Coop will be on Sirius XM Sunday morning, 10 to 11. And then myself and Coop will be on the Fantasy Time YouTube show from 11 to 12 to get you guys ready for NFL Week 4. We appreciate all the support each and every week that you guys provide. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. Good luck. We'll catch you later.